Who created God?
Brahman.
Well, this question doesn't make any sense. God cannot be created because he is already a God, meaning he always existed. Now, how is that possible? Well, there can be two explanations. The first one is that everything came from nothing, and the second one is that something always existed and created everything already existent.
Which is, of course, a false dichotomy. There are more explanations than that. For example, I would say that everything always existed, but you could also say that nothing actually exists. But that's kind of boring.
The first explanation, that nothing created everything, makes no sense. Take computers as an example. They did not come from nowhere. Humans created them. All the parts assembled together to make a fully functioning computer did not magically appear out of nowhere, but humans who already existed created them.
Wait, hold on. Just because we create things out of other things does not mean that everything was created in such a way.
This instantly excludes the first explanation, proving it false, leaving us with the other explanation that only something already existent can create something new. Now, some people will say that if something always existed, then there is no God, because time, matter, and space always existed.
Hey, that's kind of what I was saying. Why didn't you put that in the list then?
In order for something to be eternal, the properties of infinity have to be applied to it.
The properties of infinity? Alright, let's see where he's going.
Now, since the universe is made up of time, space, and matter,
Well, space-time, mass, and energy. But you're close enough, I guess.
we're going to have to apply the properties of infinity to it. If we can prove that time, space, and matter are not infinite, then that means that they must have a creator, not made from time, space, and matter, which is God, since he is omnipresent, immaterial, and eternal.
Well, I don't know where you're getting this from because the Bible doesn't actually show God as immaterial or omnipresent. In fact, it shows him as the exact opposite. It shows that he's not immaterial because he came down, walked, and talked to people like Adam and Eve and Moses. And it shows him as not omnipresent because he had to ask Adam and Eve where they were, and he had to ask Satan where he had been, because I guess he didn't know. But eternal, yes.
So, time is the change measured in a matter.
What? No, it's not. Matter can go through time without changing. Time is a dimension, just like length, width, and height.
Let's say you were told that you will create a huge tornado after you've blown the wind out your mouth an infinite amount of times. Would you ever be able to create that tornado? No, because you cannot blow the wind out your mouth an infinite number of times.
But you just said we could. The confusion here is that we can do it for an infinite amount of time, but we can't do anything after an infinite amount of time, because we can never reach infinity. It just keeps going.
This shows that you cannot have an unlimited amount of something that can be limited.
No, that's not what that says at all. It just says that there is no endpoint to infinity.
To put this in a more understandable way, we can ask, could there be an unlimited number of changes, keep in mind that time is the measure of change,
It's not.
between the two events? Can there be an unlimited number of changes, which is time,
No.
on something between this moment and sometime in future?
Yes.
The answer is no.
No.
This shows that there could not have been an unlimited amount of time between past and present.
Wait, no. There's a difference between the past and a point in the past. You can measure everything between 2 points, but that does not mean that there was a beginning point.
Because if the time before us was infinite, we never would have reached the time right now.
Wait, hold up, no. If there's an infinite amount of time, things can still happen within that infinite amount of time. You just can't do anything before or after that, because there's no such thing.
That brings us to matter. Take a ball, for example. How many times would you have to multiply that ball in order to reach an unlimited number of balls?
Infinity, meaning you would never stop.
You cannot. For the same reason, you cannot blow the wind out your mouth an unlimited amount of times.
Wait, hold on. You never said that we couldn't do it. If you never stopped blowing wind out your mouth, you would be doing it for an infinite amount of time.
You can keep on going as much as you want, but the number of that thing will always be countable.
Of course, any specific ball would be countable. That's not the point. The point is whether or not there is a last ball.
This proves that there can only be a limited amount of matter, because there cannot be an unlimited amount of something that can reach a
What?
limit.
No! Just because you put limits on things does not mean that there has to be limits on it.
Which tells us that a matter also had a beginning. And that brings us to space. For the same reason that time and matter cannot be infinite, neither can space, since space is the measure of distance between matter.
What? No! Space doesn't depend on matter. You can have space without matter. That's what a vacuum is.
And since if there was no matter, there would be no space but vacuum.
Okay, here's the definition of vacuum. Notice the word space.
Then that means that the universe is finite, because there is a limited distance of how far the planets and stars are one from another.
No, not really.
Now we know that time, space, and matter are limited.
No, we don't.
They're not eternal, which means that they are not infinite. So, what created time, space, and matter?
Lord Brahma.
If you were to exist without time, which is the measure of change,
It's not.
that means that there is no past or future, but only now, for eternity, which talks about God in the Bible.
No, I think what you mean to say is that the Bible talks about that, but somehow I doubt even that is true.
Saying God is the same yesterday and today and forever. This is because he has never changed and never will.
Which is weird considering God changed his mind a couple times.
God is eternal. He is the past, he is the present, and the future.
I'm pretty sure that's Brahman.
Which explains why out of approximately 2,500 biblical prophecies up to this day, about 2,000 have been fulfilled to the letter with no errors.
No, there's not that many prophecies in the Bible. And the prophecies that are in the Bible either come true in the very same book, come true in a book that was written by somebody who knew about the prophecy, was likely to come true anyways, or just didn't come true at all.
God is eternal and exists outside of time. Now, if something exists without matter, it is immaterial. It cannot be seen, touched, or felt, because it is not made of matter. Same way, if something exists without space, it is non-spatial. It does not have a point where it starts and where it ends, meaning it is everywhere.
To add on to this, something that exists outside of space and time is metaphysical.
So since we know that time, space, and matter were created, we need to wonder now who created it.
Lord Brahma, of course.
The only thing that can create time, space, and matter is something that exists without time, space, and matter. Because if something already exists within time, space, and matter, then it is created from something already existing. We know that time, space, and matter were created by something existing without time, space, and matter. And existing without the three factors means that it is eternal, immaterial, and omnipresent.
Which points directly to who?
Lord Brahma.
God.
No. Let's say that the universe did have a beginning, and that it did have to be made by something metaphysical. Just because your idea of God is metaphysical does not mean God created the universe. How do we know that there's nothing else metaphysical that could have created it? And how do we know that your God even exists? If what you said in this video made sense, which it doesn't, then that just means that the universe needed to begin in some way. That doesn't immediately mean God did it.
Altogether, this proves that nobody made God, and that God is real. Because in order for something to be created, it needs to already have an existing creator. God was always there, and always will be there.
So, in conclusion, we all know that Lord Brahma created the universe. So I hope you have a wonderful day and praise Lord Vishnu.